our mindful, full bloom book overview and healing session with my colleagues, Melissa Crawford, MD, and Victoria Modlock, MD. It is my pleasure to be here with you all this afternoon, this morning, this evening, whatever time zone you're in. And I'm Esther, founder and CEO of Mind Myself. And our vision at Mind Myself is to cultivate unity in these times of great divisiveness, and also to provide services that serve you in your health journey in understanding complementary, holistic, and integrative health, where our goal is also to help you become your own best health advocate, because of course, you know you better than anybody else. And I want to begin this session with a quote. Age is simply the number of years the world has been enjoying you. That's by Harley Hay. And we today are going to be reframing a little bit about that conversation around aging. Sometimes we've been given messages, and those messages tell us that aging is bad or that there are certain things that have to happen. And maybe there's another way through. So with the wisdom of our beautiful practitioners today, we are going to learn some new things and be given some invitations to take next steps. So before we dive into the conversations and the meditation, I would love to have our practitioners introduce themselves. Dr. Melissa, can you start us off, please?
Yeah, thanks, Esther. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm really excited to be here. I'm Melissa Crawford from Nelson, BC, and I'm a former family doctor turned wellness mentor, inner work guide, medical intuitive. My business is called Another Way to Heal, as I'm really passionate about helping people get to the root cause of their illness or stuckness in other parts of life, whether it's relationship, career, finances, health, by getting to the subconscious limiting beliefs, the stuck emotions, the unprocessed traumas, and help them reclaim their power. So I'm excited to help people understand how to tend to their own energy, to transform their own health and their life, to create a life they love to live by clearing the obstacles, the blocks that are not their true self. So I'll be guiding you into a journey into your body this evening to support you in just getting started with that, with understanding how to do your own energy work and connect to the wisdom of your body, and maybe even clear some stuck emotions.
Thank you, Dr. Melissa. Dr. Vicky, tell us who you are.
Thanks, Esther, and thanks so much for hosting this. This is just a passion of all of us, is to get the word out, to educate and to empower women. I'm Dr. Victoria Monlock. I'm a board certified OBGYN. I did in Wisconsin, in the US. I did traditional OBGYN for 16 years and then broke away and did solo consultative GYN practice for the next 20 plus years. I added complementary alternative medicine, regenerative medicine, energy medicine to my practice. And it was a totally inclusive kind of one-stop shop with how I could take care of my patients. And in that last 20 years, my patients would say to me, Doc, I feel 15 to 20 years younger than my age. How do I keep doing this? Well, I have this system of optimal health. That optimal health means you go to the foundation of your health and you actually balance that foundation of your health. And I call it optimal health. And it's easy. It's blood work covered by your insurance, which is amazing if you think about it. So what works for women also works for men. And so it morphed from taking care of just women to taking care of their husbands, their parents, their siblings, their children. And so total optimal health is truly listening to your body and letting your body be the symphony that it is, allowing all of your organ systems to seamlessly blend with each other, talk to each other, work with each other. And that's really going to allow for graceful aging and your best optimal health.
I love that. Your body is a symphony. And so, Dr. Vicky, we're going to start with you. Thank you both for being here, and I look forward to hearing all the juicy bits that you're going to be sharing this evening. Thank you.
Right. So that started my journey on doing not only targeted hormone levels on my patients for their female male hormones, but then realizing the larger picture is the foundation of our health is all four hormone groups. So that's what we get to on page 17 is what are the four legs of the chair? How do we balance these four hormone groups? And what are the four hormone groups? Well, think of a chair. Your first leg of your chair is your female, male, your sex hormones. Second leg of your chair is your thyroid. And thyroid is actually more than just your TSH. Many docs, that's all they'll do is TSH with a reflex T4. But it's so much more. The third leg of your chair is your adrenal, your cortisol. That's your stress hormone. Well, who's got stress, right? We all have stress. So the fourth leg of your chair is actually something most docs never, ever check. You think of it as a medication, but it's really a hormone in your body, and it's your insulin. Your insulin, which is actually as important, if not more important, than knowing what your fasting blood sugar is. So realize your foundation of your health are those four hormone groups. Women and men have thyroid, have an adrenal gland with cortisol, and they have insulin. But the difference is the complexity in that sex hormone leg, whether or not it is just the female hormone plus male hormone for women, or whether for men it's just the male hormone. So let's dive into some of the myths that women have been told. And man, we've been told a lot of myths. And women have been almost fear medicined into thinking if you take hormone, you will get breast cancer or you will get ovarian cancer. And there's nothing further from the truth if you really understand that balance is what's important. Breast cancer happens when there is imbalance, and menopause brings us to an actual estradiol dominance because in menopause we drop our female hormones. When we drop our female, male takes over. Well, that gives us belly fat. Oh, that's where it comes from. Well, belly fat is going to convert some of its testosterone into estradiol. And you go, oh, good, I've got female hormone. But you only have one of the female hormones. And it's dominant because you don't have the other female hormone, the progesterone. So you accelerate your risk of breast cancer because A, you're menopausal and you have estrogen dominance, and now you are actually hyperstimulating your breast tissue and giving yourself an increased risk of breast cancer. So you need to know you have to do levels and balance yourself out. Wow, doesn't that just make perfect sense? Other myths that are there. Gee, I'm going to be, this emotional, angry person all the time. Well, no, you're not. And there are so many myths that are in there. I can't go through them all, but the biggest one is the cancer myth. And it's refutable by the research, and we'll get to that in a moment. But what I want to show you, I want to actually take you through the 20 years of research that I did on my patients to develop not just where are your hormone levels and are they in normal limits, your reference range. I want to show you and ask the question, are your levels age appropriate? whoa, that's a completely different thought process. If you're given a reference range for normal, you're given this range. And you could be age 18, you could be age 48. And as long as you're in that range, people, your docs will tell you you're normal, you're good. There's nothing I can do for you. I say, wait a minute, are you age appropriate? And what does that mean? Well, I'm going to turn my screen for a second and show you exactly what is in the book on pages 39 for the graphs, because the graphs is 39 to 43. What I'm going to show you is that your menstrual cycle is E, estradiol, and P4, progesterone. You make estradiol all the time in a 28-day cycle. You only make progesterone halfway through when you ovulate. So you would say, well, we're estrogen dominant for half of the month. Well, but there's carryover, if you will, from having your balance at this part of your cycle, and your body knows how to adjust to that, okay? So there is this graph will show you in your decades of your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50 and beyond, what your hormone levels will do. Female, the solid line. Dashed line is your testosterone. Oh, okay. So what I want to show you, and I want you to imagine now that if you had to average these curves, it would make a bell curve. Well, doesn't that just make sense? A bell curve. Okay. But the reality of that bell curve is that in adolescence, it has this very sawtooth pattern up and down, which mirror images the sawtooth pattern that happens to their moms in their decade of their 40s. So it is the sawtooth up and down that mirrors the adolescent. Gee, doesn't that just make sense? No wonder women and daughters will clash or sometimes mesh. So it's actually science that gives us that answer. So when you're told you hit your 40s, oh my gosh, you're having symptoms that are poor sleep and poor cognition and hot flashes and so many more, and that's what we'll get to next. It's simply because you'll get through this. It's perimenopause. Well, what does that mean, Doc? Well, it just means you're on your way to menopause, and nobody tells you the science. Nobody checks your levels. Nobody actually gives you a scientific answer as to why it's going on and what you can do to mitigate your symptoms. So let's look at those symptoms. All right, I'm just going to turn back because the symptoms is that hormone symptoms worksheet that is available to you on the registration form. And I believe every one of you will see it in the book. It's page 49, and it's split on the front page and then the next page. But the hormone symptoms worksheet is actually something that on the attachment is going to be a full sheet with 2 columns. The E or estradiol deprivation symptoms, SX apostrophe S is symptoms, and there are many of those symptoms. The P4 deprivation symptoms, of which there are many, and then the excess testosterone symptoms. So if you look at this entire sheet, there are approximately 45 to 50 symptoms on here that will happen to women, and it crosses every part of your body. And so you might say, well, how do you know that these symptoms are relatable to these body areas? Because if you realize estradiol in a female body is responsible for blood supply per square inch to tissues in your body with estradiol receptors. That just begs the question, What tissues in our body have estradiol receptors? Newsflash. Every single one. Wow. From your hair to your skin, to your eyes, to your nasal passages, to your muscles, to your joints, to your heart, to every organ in your body, head to toe. Really? Progesterone, what is that influencing? It's influencing your emotionality. It's influencing your GI tract. Gee, isn't that interesting? A gut-brain connection. It's more than just what's in the gut that influences the brain. It's hormone that influences the brain and the gut connection as well. Excess testosterone. Well, we all realize that guys, when they mature, put their weight on in their midsection, in their belly. Well, women suffer the same consequence when our female hormones drop in that sawtooth fashion. Our male hormone actually picks up to take over. So when we hit menopause, second newsflash, ladies, we actually have an imbalance of more testosterone than female hormone. What? What? Well, then, what about my low libido? Third newsflash. Low libido is actually low estradiol. Whoa, so why do docs give you testosterone for low libido? I have no idea because it's the exact wrong thing to do. They're actually making you more testosterone imbalanced than female. So I would see women with full-blown menopause, a higher percentile of testosterone than estradiol, and guess what? They have a low libido. Giving them more testosterone isn't the answer. They're already coming in at a higher testosterone level. There is an exception when women have a genetic condition called polycystic ovary, but that's a different story for a different time. So beyond the actual symptoms, which allows you to identify your symptoms, validate your symptoms, and use it as a tool, as a resource with your healthcare provider to follow your progress. Because you want to know, am I getting rid of some of these? And no, I'm not crazy. I'm not going into my doc with 10 symptoms and they look at me deer in the headlights and go, well, you must be depressed because that's all they know what to say to you. No, you're not. You're menopausal and you're hormone imbalanced. And those are the words that I'm empowering to you to use because that's what you have proof of on your hormone symptoms worksheet. So fill it out, bring a copy to your doctor because now he's on record as putting it in your chart as these are symptoms that this patient has. I guess we have to address these. And doesn't it make sense that they're relatable to certain hormones? So beyond giving you the graphs and the symptoms, I want to also tell you that these studies aren't just what I learned and made up. This is based on the Women's Health Initiative American research versus European research, which was separate studies done at the same time. The interesting thing is that the American WHI was given pharmaceutical hormone to study, and they were given Premarin. Premarin stands for pregnant mare's urine. Horse pee? Yeah, pregnant horse pee. And Prem Pro, which is actually Premarin plus a synthetic chemical, medroxyprogesterone acetate, which, by the way, is the shot that is the most common contraceptive on every college campus. It is associated with infertility. It's associated with migraines, with weight gain, and breast cancer risk. What? We're giving our daughters breast cancer and we're not even telling them? Huh. Curious, right? No wonder it got called 7 years into the 10-year study. They called it because they were getting opposite results from what they expected. Meanwhile, the Europeans did estradiol and progesterone, available in the US, but they are not patentable like the Premarin and Prempro. So they did estradiol and progesterone, and guess what the Europeans found in a 10-year study that they didn't stop early? No increase in breast cancer, a decrease in heart attack, a decrease in stroke. The Americans found increase in breast cancer, increase in heart attack, increase in stroke. Opposite results. Gee, wonder if something like synthetic versus natural human biologically identical hormone had something to do with the different results. I'll let you read that section on your own. Come to your conclusions. There are numerous case studies of how patients presented. I changed their names from the decade of their fours in perimenopause, the decade of their fives, the decade of their sixes, the decade of their sevens, even of their eights, and how women had various presentations presenting with their weakness in their body. And even in menopause, those weaknesses get exacerbated. And what their course of getting their hormone levels checked, getting their hormone levels taken back to balance and optimal, and what that did to other legs of their chair, the other three hormone groups, and what that actually means for that patient as we followed them over time. Of course, lifestyle is important, diet and exercise, and that's covered in the book as well. But with our limited time, what I wanted to highlight were things that you may be completely unaware of that I want you to pay special attention to in the book. And we'll have a call to action at the end, but I'm going to turn this over now to Dr. Crawford. Melissa?
Thanks, Vicki. Were you wanting to say anything first, Esther?
No, you handed it over brilliantly. So we'll go with that and we'll have I actually do. Just before, so put your questions, everyone, in the chat, and we will have at least a half an hour of Q&A. And if we're really going strong, both of our beautiful doctors here have agreed to stay longer. So feel free to put your questions in the chat as you go along, as things occur to you, because we could talk about this for hours, right, Vicki and Melissa? Exactly. Okay, so over to you, Melissa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all that awesome information, Vicki. I'm glad you're sharing that and helping increase the knowledge and bringing more truth. So I'm super passionate about tending to energy and frequency and getting to the mental and emotional root causes of disease, whether it's health issues or other life issues. So my goal for tonight is to guide you in a journey into your own body and just to clear some stress and maybe some other stuck emotions in these different organs and glands and tissues in the body that can hold stuck stress and stuck energy. And that can really negatively impact hormone balance. So, a dysregulated nervous system, like most people are living in a chronic state of stress or sympathetic overdrive, where it's just like the pedal is always on and there's not enough downtime. That nervous system imbalance significantly impacts the all of the hormones. So we're going to be working on some of those hormonal endocrine system glands in the brain that can sort of shut down when we're in a chronic stress state or a PTSD kind of state. And we're going to bring energy there. And so I'm going to be teaching you, some of you may have experience with energy work already. And it's really, energy work is just, all you need is to bring your intention for healing and bring your awareness to these different parts of your body. Wherever you bring your awareness, the energy will flow. And when we have blockages, energy blockages in our bodies, the cells, it can't function as well. So so we'll get started, and we're going to spend a lot of time on the adrenals because they are key, like Dr. Vicky talked about. And we're also going to bring some energy to those other pillars as well. So, as well as other places. So we'll be working on organs, glands, and some different tissues. It doesn't matter if you don't know what that part of the body looks like inside of you. I'm going to be guiding you in terms of the anatomical location to bring your awareness to. So that's all that matters. So don't worry about not knowing what the pineal gland looks like or the thyroid. Just follow my lead. So we're going to start by getting grounded. Whenever you're doing energy work, it's important to be grounded, to be centered, and to feel your connection to I call the true self, your true essence, your higher self and soul and source. So that's where the healing comes from. And all we need to do is have the intention to reconnect. And that can take a split second. So let's just bring your awareness into your body and slowing down the breath. Bringing awareness to those parts that are making contact with either the floor or a chair. And just noticing. And acknowledging and thanking the earth, Mother Earth, below our feet for grounding our energy, for sending up those beautiful ions to clear and ground us and to hold us throughout this energy healing session. And then just bringing your awareness up into your heart, taking a few breaths into the chest area, centering your energy. And then with your mind's eye, with your eyes closed, just visualizing beautiful diamond light coming down the crown of your head and just sparkling, coming down into the brain, down the neck, the throat, the shoulders, the upper chest, down the arms to your hands, seeing that energy, that universal life force energy, source energy coming down into your body. We're constantly getting this life force energy flowing through us, but when we're stressed, we can sort of disconnect from it and not feel it. So now we're consciously connecting to that energy that's always available to us for healing and for feeling safe and balanced. So keep seeing that light coming down into the upper belly. And this is front and back, sides, lower belly, pelvis, and down your legs to your feet. And seeing that light anchoring into the center of the earth, the core of the earth, where that Mother Earth energy is. And just witness yourself as the bridge between the source, creator, God, universe energy, and Mother Earth. We're all anchoring in this beautiful healing energy into the earth right now. This is supportive for not just us as individuals, but the whole collective. The more that we consciously act as pillars of light, which we all are, so now bringing your awareness into your adrenals, which look like these cute little hats at the top of your kidneys. In the mid back, there's one on each side. So bringing your awareness into the mid back. We're saying hi to those adrenals that work so hard for us, and they really can get overwhelmed with fear and stress. And they normally have this beautiful figure eight motility, like dancing in a figure eight motion. And when we're stuck in stress or shock or fear, they freeze. And at the end of this, I usually see that people's adrenals are dancing again. So all of our organs and glands are dancing and singing. All we need to do is tune into them. So we're going to be holding the adrenals throughout the entire journey. Even when we go to other parts of the body, just remember that connection to the adrenals when I get you to focus on other parts. We're focusing on bringing more harmony and a feeling of wholeness and to help the whole system function as a whole. When we experience chronic stress or traumas, it creates a separation consciousness in our physical body and in our mind. So we're trying to bring in unity consciousness and reconnect all these parts of our body to work together again. So bringing your awareness to, it's called the xiphoid process. It's just this little piece of cartilage below your breastbone, your sternum, which is right in the lower chest and the upper abdomen. So bringing your awareness into that front part, lower chest, upper abdomen. So this is where we start to bring reconnection and free up the adrenals and start to get them moving again. Okay, and then up to the pineal gland. So right just in the middle of the brain, bringing your awareness into the middle of the brain, sort of with your mind's eye. It's more of bringing the energy there. You don't have to be seeing anything. Just bringing your awareness up into the middle of the brain. The pineal gland is very important for feeling that connection to our higher self, soul, and source. It's the master gland receptor for that healing energy. And unfortunately, it's really impacted by radiation, by aluminum, by pesticides, Wi-Fi, fluoride. So we're going to all intend today that we're bringing some healing energy to clear any of those sort of interferences on your pineal gland. To make you more available for healing. And just do a little check-in on your adrenals again. We're trying to kind of open up those highways of connection between these organs and glands and your adrenals. So I like to see it as like these pathways of light that sort of get awoken. So keeping your awareness on the middle part of the brain, we're bringing energy to the pituitary gland. It's just a little bit in front of the pineal gland, but all that matters is that you're focusing on that middle part of the brain. The pituitary sends signals to the adrenals, to the thyroid, to the reproductive organs. It's a really important piece of our hormone balance, and it tends to shut down a little bit when there's a lot of stress. So we're clearing the stress. We're saying hello. We're allowing it to be seen and heard. If there's any emotions that come up that surface when you are connecting with these parts of your body, just allow yourself to be with the emotion, dive into it, and it'll clear within 90 seconds. Just thank your body for allowing some stuck energy to surface. Then we're going to go up to the hypothalamus, just above the pituitary gland. I kind of see this part as like the queen. She's in charge. She sends the messages down to the pituitary, and then the pituitary sends the messages to all those other organs. So, and hypothalamus also can shut down with a lot of stress or stuck trauma in the system. So we're just saying hi to the hypothalamus and allowing some energy, stuck energy, to move there. And just remembering those little adrenals and their connection to the hypothalamus and the pituitary. It's called the HPA axis. Then going down to the thyroid, just in the front of your throat. So just bringing your awareness there. If you want to bring your hand on any of these parts of the body, we all have healing energy coming out of our hands, whether we've had training or not. You're welcome to bring a hand or two to these parts. It's to support the increase in flow. As Dr. Vicky said, this is one of the pillars of hormone balance. We have a lot of difficulty expressing ourselves, our truth, standing up for ourselves. It can create a lot of energy blocks in this part. We can reclaim our power from these sorts of beliefs. We don't have to stay stuck in these sort of patterns that keep our energy blocked and impact our health. And you're doing it right now just by bringing your awareness to your thyroid. Then just, again, checking in with your adrenals, seeing that path of light between your thyroid and adrenals opening up. Then we're holding space for the parathyroid glands. They're just these tiny little dots behind each thyroid gland. So keep your awareness where you had it. They're important in vitamin D and calcium metabolism. And then down to the thymus. So just below the throat and just below the kind of the clavicle area on the upper chest. You can place your hand there, say hi to your thymus. The thymus can respond quite well to tapping over it as well. It can help wake it up. It's a big part of our immune system. Our nervous system and immune system are very closely tied, just like our nervous system and our hormonal system are very closely linked. The body is working all together as a whole. Nothing is separate, even though the medical system acts like it is. Okay, and then down to the heart. the organ of the heart in your left lower chest. You can place your hand over there if you like. We can tend to hold a lot of heartbreak in this part of the body. Grief, sadness, sorrow. Bringing your awareness to those adrenals again, connecting the heart up with the adrenals. Showing them how to be friends again. How to dance and sing together harmoniously. The adrenals are pumping out lots of stress hormones. That heart has to work a lot harder. Let's just give them a moment to just feel the peace and calm. We can create this feeling of safety, of trust and peace whenever we want. Those energies are always available to us. It's who we are on our true essence. So now bringing your awareness down to the womb area, or for men, the prostate, which would just be below your bladder. So bringing your awareness into the pelvis. And for the woman, we're going to include the fallopian tubes, the ovaries. So we're bringing in that pillar of the sex hormones. So just seeing that whole womb. And if you don't have a womb at this point, it's been taken out, it's okay. You still have the energy of the womb is still there. You still have that energy center of the sacral chakra there. Just bring your awareness into that pelvic bowl. Seeing it light up. As women, I see a lot of women, and I've also done this, just pushing a lot of emotions down into our womb. So now we're giving our womb a chance to transmute some of that, like grief or even guilt or shame. Any birth trauma or sexual trauma is stored here. When we have trauma, we tend to disconnect from those parts of us. And a part of healing that trauma is bringing our awareness back into those parts of the body and bringing safety back into those parts, just with our intention. And seeing that pathway of light between the adrenals and the womb or the prostate. Reconnecting these parts of our bodies. Now we're going to move to our liver, which is in the right upper abdomen, in your lower right rib cage, if you want to put your hand there. And the liver's quite congested with all the toxins that it's trying to clear on a regular basis. It can also lead to some hormonal imbalances. So just bringing love to the liver. It can tend to hold a lot of anger, repressed anger and rage, which I commonly see in women with hormonal imbalances, especially hot flashes. So there's nothing wrong with feeling anger or rage. We just want to come back to learn to be with it and process it, feel it, and allow it to move on so it's not clogging up the liver. So bringing love and peace into that part of the body. Saying hi to those adrenals again. Seeing the light between the liver and the adrenals light up. Now we'll go over to the spleen, which is in the left upper abdomen, beneath your left lower rib cage. It's really cleaning up the blood. So for any of our other organs or glands to function well, we need a well-functioning spleen that can clean up the blood. It's also a part of our immune system. Now we're going to head to one of those other pillars, one of the four pillars, the pancreas, which is secretes insulin. So the health of the pancreas is important for blood sugar levels to be in healthy balance, and also digestive enzymes too. So the pancreas is in the upper part of your belly, very close to the stomach, right in the middle. So kind of between your spleen and your liver. We can push a lot of grief into our pancreas. And coming back to those adrenals. And then the kidneys in that mid back, the ones that are holding your adrenals. They can hold a lot of fear and even resentment that's not been processed. Now seeing the kidneys and the adrenals energetically reconnecting. Remembering that they're on a team and that they're singing and dancing together. we can get so caught up in day-to-day tasks that it's easy for us to forget to have fun sometimes, and sometimes our organs and glands sort of start to take that on too. So just let them have some fun, let them get loose a little bit, loosen up. And now coming up to this area right between your eyes, just above the bridge of your nose. And I want you to breathe between the adrenal glands and this area, just breathing up and then exhaling it back down into the adrenals. We're going to be clearing some stress in the deep front line, which is a deep fascia, line of fascia in the core of our body that holds some pretty deep shock, stress, emotion. So this can bring a lot of relaxation into the system. So just breathing between this part and your adrenals. A few more breaths. And then placing your hands over the occiput. So just behind your head, right where the neck and the scalp meet. And again, breathing between your adrenals and the occiput. Releasing the tension. Breathing into the occiput. A lot of people are quite tight and tense there. Allow some spaciousness to come in, some relaxation. Now the deep front line runs all the way down the spine and to the front of the thighs. So bringing your awareness to the front of your thighs, just breathing into those thighs. Then following it down to the foot, the inside, the arch of your foot on the inside. That deep front line goes all the way to the big toe. So just holding space, kind of breathing energy into the arch of the foot and the big toe. Now coming up to the sacrum, which is a bone in your pelvis. So just kind of behind the womb, the very base of the spine. Last place we're going to focus on is clearing that pathway between either the womb or the prostate and the thyroid. So these energy centers of creative expression, our creative energy is in our womb, the energy center of the womb, and it's expressed through the throat chakra where our thyroid is. So just you can put your hand over your throat and one over the womb or the lower pelvis, and just breathing between these two parts, up the spine into the throat, and then back down into the womb or the prostate. Just a few more breaths like that. Okay, beautiful. And let's just check in with those adrenals. Bring a few more breaths to them. And just bringing your awareness into your breath, into the parts of your body, making contact with the table or the bed or the chair, the floor. And opening your eyes whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Melissa. And we're going to come back and just stay in our hearts and in our bodies. That was so beautiful. That
Thank
was
you.
just so beautiful.
Thanks for joining me in that journey. I just love bringing people into their body because a lot of times we're just a little bit too up here, and we're not sinking in, we're not embodying our true essence. So thank you very much for joining me.
Absolutely. And I want to say the recording is going to be available on Mind Myself under our events section. And if you want to listen to this, what would the world be like if we did this every day? What would our bodies be like? What would our hearts be like? What would our minds be like? So I know I'm going to return to it. So thank you. And before we move into the question and answer section, we're going to talk about what your offerings are, both of you. But Dr. Vicky, now that we've gone through that and you had your opportunity at the beginning, is there something that given what we just went through, is there something else you want to say before we jump into that?
Well, I want to thank Melissa for her leadership in guiding us into an area most of us are very unaware of. Those are parts of the body that, yes, you can check by blood work, but we rarely check in with them any other way because we don't know where they are, number one, and we don't know how they relate, number two. And you used an analogy of they're dancing and they're talking to each other. Well, I always use an analogy of an orchestra, that if one instrument or one of those organs is out of balance, we hear it in the audience from an orchestra and we cringe, but we rarely can put our finger on what part of our body is off. And so it's a great exercise to kind of realize where every organ is and how it relates to the other organs in the body. So I just want to thank you for that, number one. But my call to action is, okay, we've made you aware. What can you now do about it? Isn't that just what we all want to know? So we've identified our symptoms. We've identified that there are certain blocks, perhaps, of organs in our body talking to themselves and to each other. But what is the call to action? How can I talk to my healthcare provider and get them to do what I want them to check, which is blood work? And I'm specifically saying blood work to check those 4 hormone groups in the body, those 4 legs of the chair, not saliva. And I'm going to say that specifically because we have blood everywhere in our body. But I'm going to ask you, if you have joint pain because of low estradiol, do you have saliva in your joint? No. Do you have saliva in your liver? Well, maybe you've got breakdown of saliva. Do you have saliva in your brain? In other words, I want you to think about what you're checking and how that relates to the organ systems and symptoms that you have. So, saliva is an American approach to we want to be different than the Europeans. The Europeans are using blood work and serum, and their research was done with human-based bioidentical hormone. So, you want blood work. And the blood work you want to ask your provider to do for you is outlined as those in the last chapter of the book, the four legs of the chair. So you want your sex hormones drawn. You want your thyroid with its multiple parts drawn, including antibodies that your immune system may make to fight and attack your thyroid. You want your cortisol checked. You want your insulin and your fasting blood sugar checked. Those are your basics. Vitamin D is a bonus. It's the great equalizer of those four. And there are other inflammatory markers, but the basics, the real basics, are outlined in that chapter, how to talk to your healthcare provider. So when you go to see your provider, be forearmed and be prepared to show them your symptom list, to tell them what your top 3 or 4 symptoms are, show them the labs you want drawn, and then what if they say, I can't do that? Or, translation, I won't do that. Well, then you may be seeing the wrong healthcare provider. And I'm just going to say that, and you can make your own choice. But in the States, everybody listening who's from the States, I want you to understand you can go online and order your own blood work. What? You can do that, and you're not going to be beholden to the cost that you would be paying if you were going through your doctor's office and they don't order it, or they use the wrong codes. So know that you have choice. And my call to action that I ask you to do is to take the hormone symptoms worksheet, fill it out, look at the lab that I want to have drawn for you, the 4 legs of the chair, and that's your first step into assessing where you are. Are you age appropriate? If you're menopausal and you're not making hormone, realize you are, and that you still want to be protective for cancer. You want to reverse osteoporosis. You want to reverse and prevent Alzheimer's. This is all tied to your hormonal balance in your body. Alzheimer's? Really? Really? And it's not just me saying that. There are neurologists who also state that. So it's truly the connection of how our body talks to itself, all of our organ systems. Realize cholesterol, we're told lower it, lower it. Cholesterol is the building block for every hormone we make in our body. It used to have a level of 220 to 225 before they realized they needed more people on a medication, so they lowered it artificially to 200. What? That's right. And cardiologists lower it even more if you have a cardiac history, to the point where many patients can't make adequate hormone. So it's really understanding the foundation of your health. How does your body work? Don't sacrifice one organ for the other. They all need to work together, and we need all of those organs. So, in closing, your body is a beautiful symphony, and listen to it, nurture it, play with it often, connect it, and keep it in tune.
Fabulous advice. Thank you, Vicki. And we're going to put in the chat links to get a hold of both Dr. Vicki and Dr. Melissa. If you would like to further on in this work, you absolutely can do that. Both of them are doing consultations, and I'm sure you will have follow-up questions, so absolutely reach out to them. That's great. And if you haven't bought Dr. Vicki's book yet, please do so. It's called Full Bloom, and it's all, you can get it various places. If you don't like Amazon, there are other options. But do get it, read it, and that last chapter will help you, as Dr. Vicki has said. Dr. Vicki has a listing on the Mind Myself website too. And Melissa, maybe you want to share a little bit about your call to action and what people can get. I know you've got a number of irons in the fire right now.
Yeah, just a reminder to just keep coming back to that when you notice you're kind of dysregulated or in that stress mode, just come back to your center, just come back into your core and breathe it can be really simple. Just doesn't have to be tapping into all the organs every time, but just coming into your heart. Sometimes it takes 30 seconds or 60 seconds to get back into alignment with yourself, and that helps your entire body to heal from anything, whether it's mental health issues or physical health issues, hormone imbalances. The body needs to be in a relaxed state. So number one thing I tell all of my clients is make sure you're prioritizing like a regular self-care practice that gets you relaxed, deepening your breath, meditation, being in nature every day, moving your body every day. But not just that 20 minutes or that half hour or an hour of yoga. It's like throughout the whole day, noticing when you get out of alignment with your true self that is centered and calm, and bring yourself back. That's the biggest advice I could give anybody, no matter what they have. And yeah, I also have gonna be offering anybody that's joined this call a 20% discount for an initial consultation with me if you wanted to do some energy work, some mentoring around how to do the inner work, how to clear limiting beliefs, clear stuck emotions. I do medical intuitive work as well. And I'm really passionate about teaching people how to do that for themselves, to be their own medical intuitives, to talk to their organs, talk to their body, get the messages from their body. We all have the capacity. We're all intuitive. It's just that we don't believe we are, or we don't remember how to be. So I'm really excited to help people reconnect with that part of themselves. And I also have a 4-week class that's focused. It's going to be in June, and it's going to be with my partner, and it's going to be a relationship class for anybody who either isn't in a relationship yet and they're waiting for love, and they don't know what inner work they need to do to call in a healthy relationship. They might be tired of chaotic ones or unhealthy ones, which I will say when I work with women with hormonal imbalance, there's always relationship stress attached to it, whether it's past stuff they haven't resolved or current. So healing relational traumas is huge for hormone balance, menopause or cycling women. So yeah, we're going to be doing a class to help people do that inner work that can help manifest a healthy relationship. Or if you're in a relationship and you just want a quantum leap, take a quantum leap in building a healthier relationship with your partner. It's for singles or couples, and we're super excited to launch that now. So I'll also send that in the link. And yeah, I think that's it for me. Thank you so much, Dr. for sharing all that awesome information, empowering people to take
And
their health.
thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, everyone who
Yes.
came. Hopefully, you've gotten some answers to questions. You've raised more questions than maybe we've answered, and that's the point. It's all about education and empowerment. Knowledge is power. So learn what as much as you can and come back often to the books, come back to energy work, and realize that this is an ongoing process. We all are still learning to work with our bodies.
I love it. And we're now going to move into the Q&A section, and we have some questions in the chat, which I have captured and put on another page. And what I love is that we've got a number of perspectives here. We've got the Western medicine model, but adjusted. Thank you. And we've got energy medicine, and we've said, let's bring them together. And that's the whole point of why Mind Myself exists. So I'll start with the question that Melanie asks. Do you suggest that we do the symptoms checklist, and then maybe decide if a blood or urine test might be helpful also? You may have answered that earlier, Dr. Vicky.
Well, and again, let me reiterate that whether you have symptoms or not, once your ovaries stop making hormone, you become imbalanced because you no longer are making progesterone. You will make estradiol with conversion from your body fat, and your natural testosterone production will continue, but we quit making progesterone. So that's an automatic imbalance that you may or may not feel. So how you feel symptoms wise doesn't relate to the imbalance. And where the imbalance of estradiol dominance gets you in trouble fastest is breast hyperstimulation, a bad mammogram, and the highest incidence of breast cancer is in menopausal women. Wow. When you realize that, it brings the point home that you may feel great. And patients would say to me, but doc, I exercise every day, I eat right, my BMI is perfect. Why did I get breast cancer? Well, because the hormone imbalance is something that just silently sneaks up on you. It's like heart disease. You don't realize you're getting clogging of arteries until all of a sudden you get a chest pain, and then you realize, oh no, but you're already sometimes past a point of just conservative management and you have to do something. I'm trying to educate you so that you can be the best steward of your own health and longevity going forward, not waiting for a symptom to happen that you go, oh no, a bad mammogram, or you need a biopsy, or it's breast cancer and now you need surgery and chemo, and oh my gosh, the whole Western medicine slaps you in the face. But how can you put yourself in a position of strength where you are preventing the very symptoms that you dread, that you don't want that diagnosis? It may not come for 5 years, 10 years, but you don't want it at all. So you can't start doing the prevention the day before the mammogram. That just won't work.
It's like binge flossing a couple of days before a dentist appointment. It doesn't work.
Right.
Thank you.
Or trying to prevent Alzheimer's the day before you go to the neurologist, or trying to reverse osteoporosis, and you think just doing weight-bearing exercise and taking calcium is good enough. Well, the secret truth to osteoporosis prevention is you can't absorb your calcium unless you have the proper estradiol level in your body. You need a proper estradiol to absorb the calcium. You may take the calcium, but if you don't have the right level, it passes on through and you pass it out. And it's as if you ask your body, why did I even bother? But your body goes, but I need that calcium. So what does
Right.
it do? It goes to your bone bank and steals it. It goes to your tooth bank and steals it. And you go, oh my God. And I'll give you an example. A 70-year-old patient, perfect BMI of 20, healthy, exercised every day, weight-bearing exercise. And she came in and she said, what did I do wrong? I was told by my dentist I have to get every tooth in my mouth pulled because I have bone loss in my jaw and I need total mouth implants at a cost of $40,000. What did I do wrong? Well, bone loss is osteoporosis. So you have to absorb the calcium or your body steals it. So you just need to know that prevention means all three pieces of preventing it: weight-bearing exercise, calcium, and a proper estradiol level.
Thank you. Melissa, do you have any comments on that question about symptoms and testing?
Nope, that's pretty complete. I think we
Okay,
could.
awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, a question for you, Melissa. Do you suggest that we do that practice at least once a week or more? What would you suggest? Or
I'm glad
something similar?
I'm glad they asked, because that meant to be one of my call to actions is to consider, you ask your body how often it wants to do it. But I would say for a lot of people, once a week for a month would be a really great to reset your nervous system, and bring balance to it. And if you feel like you need to do it more often than that, you can't do any harm by just connecting to your body. So if you want to do it every day, it's only half an hour, go for it. You could get some detox, however, I have heard some feedback from people that they've had some detox symptoms, particularly when I do it one-on-one and we're doing it over an hour. So this is shorter, and I think, a shorter burst that would be okay for most people. Other things that can happen that are good to know about is because you're going to be clearing some energy, including clearing fear. Sometimes when we're clearing that old stuff, it can show up in our dreams. So I have had some people tell me they had sort of fear-based dreams the night or two after, but they realized it was their subconscious clearing fear. So if that happens to you, just know that that is a common thing that can happen. It doesn't happen to everybody, and just comfort yourself, if that happens. Um, yeah, and some other detox symptoms, like kind of BO smells or large poops, or like it could be anything could happen when your body's sort of discharging old energy. So
Great answer. Thank you. We have a question about thyroid, and that's always something I'm interested in too. So Annie asks, I'm 42. I've always told I've been normal, but since 36, 37, I don't feel it. What are your thoughts on thyroid replacement? Is there some natural way that this can be regulated? Maybe Dr. Vicky, if you could start.
I always advocate supporting the thyroid naturally with iodine and with selenium. And many times you can get both of those as a single supplement, that they're both in the same supplement. But iodine is usually much more available when people live on a coast, a sea coast, because you're eating more seafood that's more naturally caught and grown, wild caught, if you will, versus, farmed in the ocean. But you've got natural iodine in the water versus inland. We actually have no iodine as a natural source in our water, which is why back in the 1800s, they started giving iodine pills to kids in grade school in the Midwest, because that was the only way that they got iodine. It was before seafood was shipped. So iodine is hugely important. You can take, in many cases, 200, 400, 600 micrograms, and you can take it with selenium, which is, an enhancer of iodine. And those are natural support supplements for your thyroid. Realize too that a lot of times thyroid is absorbing the stress from your adrenal. It's absorbing the stress from your insulin. It's absorbing the stress from your sex hormones. So it may be a reaction. So that once you realize something else is off and you start correcting that, your thyroid may come back into normal range. But you may not feel the thyroid, or it's been so gradual that you don't realize that your racing heart is a hyperthyroid, or that your deep fatigue is a hypothyroid, until you look. And then there's the people that think that they have a wheat intolerance, when really what it's doing, and they think it's gluten, it's really they're reacting to the pesticides that American wheat, especially American wheat seed, has permanently incorporated into the wheat seed, the DDT. It was banned back in the 40s, but it was so overutilized that it was permanently incorporated into the wheat seed DNA. The same thing is starting to happen with Roundup or glyphosate. So if people who are sensitive to wheat in the US go to Europe, they can eat the wheat in Europe because DDT was banned sooner and the wheat is more pure. So that's something to be aware of as well.
Great. And before we get your perspective on thyroid, Melissa, there's been another question in the chat. So, what about liquid iodine placed on the skin or just a few drops? Do you have any comments on that?
Well, liquid iodine in the skin is going to stain your skin. And it's got a very intense pigmentation that you'll have. It's also used, realize, in the wild in survival kits to help purify water. So you
Yeah.
can overdo iodine. You want to use the right amount, and you want to use it on a daily basis or every other day basis because you actually want a constant signal to your body and to your
Okay.
thyroid. So,
Okay. Thanks. Melissa, do you have any thoughts on thyroid?
Yeah, in addition to what Dr. Vicky said, I frequently find that congested livers are also are another underlying cause of a thyroid issue, the gut and the liver. So I usually find in my clients that the issue in the thyroid starts somewhere else, sort of like Dr. Vicky alluded to. But then that mental emotional aspect, a lot of us grow up, not being able to express ourselves, not feeling like it's safe to express our emotions or to share our authentic selves with people, to speak our truth. So where I focus my practice a lot more these days, I used to be very more supplement and medication focused when I had a license, obviously, and I still use a little bit of supplements. I think we do need them quite often. But I'm more focusing on the inner work, that mental emotional stuff. So just adding that piece in, and I think it's more really common in women especially to shut down their voice. So I like to help people wake that back up, get some energy flow to the thyroid.
That's great. Thank you. Gwen asks, I'm 71 and on bioidentical hormone therapy. Should I have my levels checked annually or how often?
well,
Let's start with Vicky.
yeah, I usually, because I live in Wisconsin and we have four distinct seasons, that your energy, your exercise, your diet will change season to season to season. It's less variable when you live in a specific climate where you have a more uniform temperature and you have more uniform exercise. The so when I'm checking people, I will in my part of the world check them either every 3 to 4 months, or if they're in a stable environment, I'll check them every 6 months because again, we get complacent as to what our activity level is, or we go on vacation and we do things out of our ordinary routine and we kind of let our body go on autopilot and we forget that things still have to balance. Not that you have to focus every single moment of every day on balancing your body, but it becomes such a natural balance over time. But we have to learn if something feels out of balance, we'll see it out of balance on blood work. If we don't see it out of balance, we may not trust that what we feel is real. So I would tend at the minimum to do it twice a year because the findings may surprise you. And you may find you have to rebalance something that is a total surprise.
Thank you. Dr. Melissa, do you have a comment?
I agree with that. That's how I did things when I practiced functional medicine and prescribed bioidentical hormones. So I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, we have a question from Gina. How do you regulate your emotions when someone is screaming in your face? Let's start with you, Melissa.
Yeah, so there's a lot there that you could go into, but healthy boundaries needs to be employed in these kind of situations. If someone is unhealthily expressing their emotions in a kind of a violent way, like verbally violent way, uh, we need to be able to have a boundary and say, like, I can't have this conversation now. Let's take a pause and let's regulate ourselves. Let's come back to our center. The other person has to be willing to do that though. So that can be an issue in relationships or friendships. And all that we can do is tend to our energy and our emotions. We can't do it for anybody else, and that's where codependency comes in relationships. Um, and that's not healthy. Most of us were taught codependency from childhood, from how our parents interacted. And so it's about, yeah, coming back to your own energy, taking care of yourself and having healthy boundaries And that could mean leaving the room and saying, I can't do this. I need us to be in a calm, grounded state when we talk. And just taking care of yourself. And yeah, that's what I would say kind of generally in that situation.
Thank you. Dr. Vicky, any comments on that?
Well, when the comment that you made, somebody screaming in your face, reminds me of the military. And I have a military daughter that when she was going through some medical issues, she had her commanding officer right in front of her, literally screaming at her because that's a show of hierarchy in the military is to exert your hierarchy in a very verbal way. And you have to stand your ground. And she was taught early on by us, you don't close your eyes, but inside of you, you pretend you close your eyes and you simply start doing your deep breathing and you ground yourself. You know where you're coming from. You know where you want to go. You know what the situation is. And you have to remain a half a step outside of the situation so that you can properly assess what is going on. Now, if you're unsafe, that's a completely different story. If there's any kind of physical threat of violence, that's ground yourself first and then look for your escape. Keep yourself safe. But when you're in a situation of hierarchy where you cannot escape that behavior, then a learned behavior of doing some deep breathing, do something that takes you that half a step back, that keeps you grounded in you so that you remember where you are in relation to that other person.
And come back and do the meditation again on your own time because that will really settle all those organs in your body. Absolutely. A quick one, and then we have a more complicated one. What brand of sea moss or seaweed is most beneficial? Do you have any thoughts on that, either of you? Or just something that's from a quality
I
company that
usually tell
doesn't have
people
chemicals?
if it is sea grown in salt water, or in salt water, even in tanks, usually you just need to know the situation that it was grown in. Um, Obviously, people will be very hierarchical and say it has to be Japanese and it's got to come from this coast. And, it doesn't have to be that complicated. There are good seabeds and kelp that are available and seaweed that's available in many parts of the world. So you just need to know its origin, how it was raised, how it was processed, and if there were any additives put into it with packaging.
Thank you. Any comments further on that, Melissa, or same?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Tracy asks, I had blood clots in 2007 from a YAZ or YAZ medication. Now zero hormones. Weight loss is challenging, not absorbing vitamin D. What do I do? And I imagine specifics may be different, but there are many women in that kind of a place of coming to various things exactly like that. What is your advice? Melissa, why don't we start with you?
Um, yeah, definitely I would say some regular energy work would be good and coming back to the basics of regulating the nervous system and also considering some gentle cleanses for the body. Some of these medications can kind of build up and the residues body has a hard time sort of letting them go. If weight loss is challenging, absorption is challenging, I would say like some digestive kind of gut cleanses. And I do have some specific a specific line of products that I recommend, and I can put the link in the chat if people want to check it out. It's called Zen Cleanse, and I've tried a million different cleanses over the last decade or so, and most of them I never felt any different before and after. And this particular brand, was the one that I did feel different. So I would think about cleansing the gut and cleansing the liver. Um, yeah, that's what I would add for now.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Vicky.
Well, Yaz, and I saw the question come up before when we were talking. So Yaz is a form of artificial birth control. All birth control pills are artificial chemical hormone. And that's the rotten part of it, is that it's billed as perfectly safe. You can take it forever, and you can even take it into your menopause. And then when something happens, they all go, "Oh, you're one of those that's going to react to it. Oh, too bad, so sad for you. But it's safe for the other 95% of the world." Well, 5% comes up to millions of women. So chemicals in the body, we're not meant to have chemicals in the body. So, it's the ignorance of medicine, but regardless, it happened and it happened to you. So what can you do? Well, if it was blood clots anywhere else except centrally in the lungs, I would say you can use a patch, but people get really, really, really nervous, and there's not enough research to show that an estradiol patch is still safe when there's pulmonary blood clots. That actually can be very life-threatening. And so what I usually say then is food is medicine. And there are herbs and there are foods that you can do more concentrated that will actually be estrogen-like. They won't be estradiol, but they will be phytohormones. They will be mimickers of hormone. And so in the herbal areas, chasteberry is one of those that you can do. And I wouldn't even know the amount to tell you to take. So it would be something that I would actually have you look into online. There are some really good articles and things you can look at online. Chasteberry is even used for infertility when people don't want to use chemical estradiol or natural estradiol. But you can also use good grade of soy. American soy is usually not very good grade, not very phytoestrogenic. So Japanese or Asian soy is usually a much better source that may be harder to find, but tofu, that's a really good brand of tofu, is going to be something that a lot of people that are vegan incorporate into their diet. As far as progesterone, yams are a tremendous source of progesterone. The unfortunate thing is you have to have a truckload to have as much yam as you might need to help balance progesterone, but it's better than not doing anything. Pumpkin seeds are also a great source of progesterone, and they're also estrogenic or phytoestrogenic. So there are sources, food sources online. Let food act as your medicine when you are restricted with what you can do pharmaceutically or bioidentically naturally. We don't want to compromise anybody's pulmonary system. We don't want to cause a pulmonary hypertension. We don't want a blood clot to go from the lungs to the heart and cause problems there. So it does carry more risk. And unfortunately, your side effects happened before medicine was smart enough to tell us we shouldn't be giving a lot of artificial hormone. Women, I'm going to say the same risk is there when you use an IUD with artificial hormone in as well. Be very, very, very cautious. Anything chemical that you put into your body, it's still chemical.
And just the final follow-up on that, there were 3 blood clots in both lungs. So
Yeah,
did that change anything about what you said or no?
that's a moderate to severe. If you want to grade it mild to moderate to severe, that's a moderate to severe. That really is nothing that anybody would want to put estradiol in and cross their fingers and hope you'd be okay. So,
Thank you. Now I know we have a range of people listening to this information. There will be some people who will be perimenopausal, maybe some people aren't even there yet. Some people will be going through menopause, but oftentimes we don't talk about postmenopause. And I'd love to have some comments from you because, oh yeah, no, I don't have my period anymore, so that's not relevant to me. I think the hormone conversation is relevant at any age, and certainly it doesn't just end when our period stops. So Is there some final comments that you could say about postmenopause, what we should be looking at, what we should be thinking about, what should we be nurturing our bodies with? Let's start with Melissa.
Yeah, so for me, it's really again focusing on keeping that mental emotional health and processing those old wounds and clearing those limiting beliefs, the stuck emotions, bringing your nervous system into balance so that the rest of the system can function properly. I'm not advising people around hormonal replacement or anything like that. So for me, it's more focused in that area. So I'll let Dr. Vicky talk about her approach to postmenopause.
Well,
Great. Thanks, Dr. Vicky.
yeah, I touched on it before, but I'll reiterate because it is so important, is, you know, what we're doing is preventing chronic disease and disease that once it gets to the point of recognition, it's really, really difficult to turn that ship around and make it go the other direction. So osteoporosis, you don't feel osteoporosis. Only when you fall and you break something do you feel the bone break. And then you go, oh, shoot. And they go, oh, well, you had osteoporosis. Well, I didn't feel anything. Well, you're not going to. So that didn't come overnight. That came over years. So you're going to prevent and reverse osteoporosis in your jaw as well as wrist as well as spine. You're going to prevent and potentially reverse Alzheimer's. Nobody wants Alzheimer's. We've all seen a family member that needed long-term care. Nobody wants to be in the reverse of that position where they're now the one needing the care because it's really, really, really difficult to take a disease that took 20 years to build and reverse it overnight. It isn't going to reverse overnight. You want to prevent it from being there. And hormone balance is part of that. You want to, based on the American versus European research, you want to decrease breast cancer. You want to decrease heart attack, decrease stroke. Those are all longevity issues that can be absolutely devastating, and they're more likely to happen in that 50 to 60 to 70 and up, especially 60 to 70 and up. I'll share with you just a quick story. I had an 85-year-old that she was osteoporosis and she was 4'9". And so she was at double risk of breaking something if she fell. And she would go to Florida every 6 months and be back in Wisconsin. Well, she called the office one day and she said, I just know my son is going to call and tattle on me, so I'm just going to call first. My riding lawnmower fell over on me and I had to get out from underneath it and rewrite the riding lawnmower and get back on and finish cutting the grass. I'm fine. She goes, I didn't break anything. I feel just as nimble and whatever as I did before. She said, I'm taking my hormone. I'll do a repeat bone density when I get back. We repeated it and she had gone from osteoporosis to low osteopenia. The year after that, she went to normal. So she completely reversed her bone loss.
And this is all with either hormone replacement therapy or bioidentical hormone replacement therapy.
Correct.
Wow. So there is help. There are solutions, and I want to honor all of you who've been here today. Thank you so much for Dr. Melissa and Dr. Vicky for sharing your time, your wisdom, your energy, your expertise. So amazing. And for each one of you who is here in the flesh or watching this later, thank you. You could spend your time in so many different ways, and you chose to spend it here with us today. Of course, if you valued this time and you would like to donate to Mind Myself so that we can keep some of these programs going, we welcome that. And of course, it's right on the homepage where you can do that, or the event page. And I want to end with this quote by Gabrielle Jordan. She says, here's the truth. Menopause doesn't diminish who we are. It reveals new depth. I'm more grounded now, focused on what truly brings me joy, and more in tune with my needs and boundaries. I've become more patient and compassionate with myself, more certain of my worth, and fiercely dedicated to self-care. I stand firmly in and am thankful for the wisdom that comes with this stage of life. It's not the years that change us, but the choices we make in navigating them. Thank you again for being here. Blessings to you all. Come back and do that meditation as many times as you want. We'll have this out in a few days, and we so appreciate you. Thank you again, Dr. Melissa and Dr. Vicky.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Esther.
Thank you. And we do this, as I always say, because you matter. Have a great rest of your evening.